All right. So I do tier lists a little bit differently. Um, I kind of like to put a bunch of characters in a tier and then like class them right away. So that's kind of what I'm gonna do. Right now, I just finished my demonic playthrough. I think Eve is definitely the best character. In a game where you don't get dodge tanks, she's the only dodge tank, and then on top of that, she has the best ability in the game. If you make her a cutthroat into fuck, what's it called again? Uh, into a Slayer. Why does Slayer have 1-2 range? That's really broken. Just the most like you just put no investment into her. She does her role phenomenally. She has the frog tongue ability, Licky Lasso, whatever the fuck it's called. Character does everything you want her to. Um, Probably the best unit in the game, up there for sure. Next, we have these two characters, Saxon and Talera. They do a very similar role to Eve, but they don't deal damage as much in the late game. In the way I see them is Saxon is like a more holistic like uh, character with like more avenues to do shit, and then Talera is just like if you didn't make Saxon a monk ascendant, then you use Talera instead in the late game. That's why they give her to you because it's like you kind of need one. And this is all on demonic, by the way. Like I only used one monk ascendant. I used Saxon until I got Talera, and then Taldera's passive, which is um, Magnum Opus, crits restore 10 mana. You do that shit, you combine it with the Fractal Prism of Death. That's my Discord, by the way. You just get a super high crit rate. This character restores hella mana on her own. I decided to give her the Attuned Ring. I was running it on Saxon before, but as soon as I picked her up, I gave her the Attuned Ring. And this Astral Ring especially too. So pretty much whenever she doubled and she double crit, she would get 25 mana back per interaction. So she didn't even need to kill enemies because she was just staying alive. And it got towards the end of the game, I didn't even use key charge as much. Not because she had insane stats or anything like that, but because the role that she was doing was being done well. She didn't need to charge key, and I imagine Saxon gets to a similar place at the end game. For similar reasons. He's they're pretty inseparable if I'm being honest. They're basically the same character. I don't know why Saxon gets fucking power crept at the late game. This ability isn't even that crazy. Heal for 15% of max HP. Uh I will say, this Call to the Storm ability kind of sucks early game. Or early game it's great, but late game and mid game, this fucking ability is so trash. I'm not even gonna hold you. That shit is garbage. Because you just have other characters that do that, and it's not like you're clicking Taldera's shit either. Steal this age. I don't think I clicked this a single time. They're just the best monk ascendants in the game by a lot, and you basically, I think to get through demonic, you need at least two of these. Because you need a dodge tank on both sides of your force. I'll get to Gwyn in a sec, but basically, like, the way you have to think about this game is you're forced to use Gwyn, and that heavily influences like how you have to build your teams. Um, the monk side is allowed to be a little bit weaker because you have Gwyn, and you don't even have to bring Gwyn near Eve at all throughout your whole run if you don't want to. But it's there, and I'm gonna talk about Gwyn in a bit because I think that she's I think severely underrated is the wrong term, but I'll get to her. I'll get to her. So, you go here. This is pretty obvious. The ability to... So what I did with my Arthur, I just made him a Geomancer, and then I made him a... Oh, I'm losing my mind. Oh no, the lobotomy. Geomancer Cosmission. With this high-ass mastery stat, plus mastery plus 15%, or plus 15 when HP is full, this is stupid. I have 80 mastery, and then you give this motherfucker the Inferno ring and the Archmage ring, and you just hit whatever you want with Meteor, and you just kill them, okay? And even before you get the Inferno ring, even before he becomes a oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Even before he becomes a Cosmician, as a Geomancer, this is like such a fun utility unit because he comes with this ability, fucking Lunar Reeve. This shit is awesome. You pick the Mastery Scaling, you give it one more range. It's 45 mana. That's basically for free. Because, like, what's it called? He generates mana 25% faster. I've never, like, the only time I worried about mana with this guy at all throughout the entire game was, like, super early game and at the end game when you have to kill the final boss. Because you kind of have to spam his Meteor at the final boss. So, this is going to be a bit of a hot take, and I know he's, like, my highest level character on here. I think Zuhair goes here, bro. I'm not going to lie to you. This character's kind of nuts. So I played on random growths, right? I played on demonic with random growths. This, towards the end of the game, was by far my best unit. Because he comes with this ability, Lightning Strike. 9 tiles is so far, dude. 4 plus 10% of mastery, and then mastery you get from Conduit into Stormkeeper. You are just insane. Like, 70 damage... that's like half the HP of every enemy in the game, and then you combine it with literally any Tidekeeper, or what's the name of the class again? Tidecaller, any Tidecaller, and you know that plays perfectly into my next Vit. He goes here. I didn't use him because I hopped on the train a little bit too late, but this character's passive is insane. If you want, like how do I word it? I'm gonna get into Kamari in a sec. I am losing my mind. Howron. Grant 2 mastery for 4 turns and it stacks. So, this guy would literally just be a better Tidecaller than my Kamari. His passive is just perfect. Also, this character, it was almost like he was built for Waveseer Tidecaller. It's so much so I think Whirlpool is such a broken ability in the early and the mid game. It carries a lot, right? And having even, like, this is my problem with the Shaman tree. Every Shaman wants to be a Waveseer because of this mana cost reduction and the Whirlpool. Whirlpool is so valuable in the mid game. And mana cost reduction is insane for what you're allowed to do. So no one complains about getting to be a Waveseer ever, even if the growths don't suit the character. And I think it just suits him the best. It's a combination of the abilities being broken, the passive being broken, his passive suiting the class really well. You basically combine these two characters, right? Or any Tidecaller, honestly. You kill someone with how do I word this? The goal, you send in a dodge tank, 1 of 3. You get a bunch of enemies near you. This guy pops off, and then he gets activated again, and he pops off. He kills 3 enemies every turn. Every turn, 3 goons are dying with this guy on your team if you do what I just did. What are my rings on this guy? I don't even remember. Inventory rings. Mastery increased by 1 for every 10 current HP. So as long as you keep this guy out of combat, he's just a he's just a mortar. Like, he just does shit. Ignore 1% of enemy resistance per mastery. I'm not gonna lie, I just slapped that shit on him because it sounded good. I don't know if it actually affects the lightning strike. I didn't pay that much attention to the damage numbers in this game. But, like, I don't know. What weapon did I use on him? Oh, I just played meta. Oh, this shit. This shit actually matters. 25% of mastery added to unit power. So it has 6 power, but you slap this shit on him, he has 54 power. That shit makes it stronger than this. Look at my power. 43, 43, 48. And then I slap this 52. That shit matters. Also, this character throughout the whole game, I think there wasn't a single combat that he got put into where he didn't have a 50% chance to crit or higher. And then he was the only unit in this game that I had that felt like he could hit 100 damage on a crit. There is no other, for some reason, this guy is just Goku, and I don't know why. And I see people say he's dog shit, and I'm telling you, it's entirely because they try and build him into like this tank role that he's like really dog shit at. Because the tank roles in this game are, I'm losing my mind, by the way. Fragilin, this is like one of the worst classes in the game by far. This tree also sucks ass. Fragilin sucks. Godfrost is really good. You go Conduit Godfrost, and you could do that. He does that role well, I will say. But it's like, if you don't need this because you're running like the broken shit like I did, you run Eve Talera, Saxon, fucking, you know. Especially if you're like, I also think that per team, you probably only need one Tidecaller per team. Okay? That's the kind of weird thing about Tidecallers. They're really good, but I think having more than one is quite excessive. I think this is the S tier. This is the best in the game by a lot. And then, oh wait, do I put Alden here? I think this character might deserve to go here. No, I'm gonna put him here, and I'll tell you why. This character is just your first like actual mage. Alden's weird, for me, because you could make him into a lot of things. I know he's a really good Aegis into Relic Knight. Obviously, Geomancer Cosmician is just fantastic. Like, there's no going wrong with this. There's no going wrong with Scholar Lore Master either. I think he's really good at doing Scholar into Lore Master. I think he's also probably the best Aegis into Relic Knight user. He just has options, and that's why I really like him. He's super flexible on what you want him to be in your team. Me, personally, I just stuck with Scholar Lore Master because that was the one with the least investment. And I really liked it. I really think that him being on Lore Master is so good. I just love the Lore Master class. But out of all the Lore Masters, it feels like he's the best one. What's his personal ability again? I don't even remember. Deal 2 additional damage for every status effect on an enemy. Oh, that's right. Okay, that's why Aura Wave was so good in my whole run. This ability is so good, dude. It synergizes with so much. Synergizes with Gwyn. It synergizes with fucking every weak unit you have synergizes with these like kind of abilities that just stack shit on the opponent, right? That's why Valeria is so good in the early game. She falls off though. I honestly, I'll get there, but I really, really, really enjoyed using Alden, especially because the Lore Masters get these allies within 2 tiles expend 15% less mana. That shit, I think he is just like, he's the best mana battery in the game. He's also flexible with what you want him to do on your rolls. He could honestly be up here how you feel. I just haven't, this is my first demonic playthrough. This is just my immediate thoughts on the characters. I love Alden in this game. He's so good. Next up, you're gonna see, this is hard. See, I like to do my tier list kind of weird. I like to sort of make it into a bell curve usually, but usually that involves me doing this like the top first and the bottom second, and then I kind of fill in the soup. I don't think I can do that without spoiling shit, and I do want to talk about it later, which is why I'm not doing it right now, so it makes kind of deciding where these characters go right now weird. I'm just gonna slap her here, I'm gonna slap him here. She goes here for sure. I don't know. I don't know how, like, you can do a lot of shit with Kamari. So, I think Kamari is the most flexible shaman by a lot. The reason why is because he can do whatever he wants. Fortitude plus 25% lets him do a lot of things. You could be a Juggernaut Dreadnought, and you could also, like, this is the worst case scenario, by the way, and you're still, like, a fantastic fucking tank for, what's it called, for Fortitude. You don't give a fuck, man. This guy the whole run shrugged off, like, mana and shit. And, you know, he's not really meant to be like a frontline or anything, you know, as shamans are meant to be like support units, per se. But like, I just think that the fact that he can do shit outside of being a Wave Seer Tidecaller makes him really special. Because the shamans are kind of restricted to being this class, I'm not gonna lie. I'll get into... So what I did with my Cassandra, I love this character so much. I see a lot of people go for like this weird ritualist build. Oh yeah, by the way, on my Kamari, I use these rings because I needed him to just take hits, and he was really good at doing that. I could lure out like a lot of, especially towards the end game. I think on the final map that you play, there's like, off the top of my head, there was like 3 physical units on that whole map. I think defense is a meme stat in this game, I'm not gonna lie. So Kamari just being able to lure like lure magic users is a huge deal. Going on to Cassandra, I kind of just made her like a full support character at first, not really knowing what to do with her. I do think Aya's better. I'll get to Aya in a sec. Cassandra is weird. In the beginning, I just made her a Wave Seer, because of course, that's what you do with the Shamans. And then, I feel like, as Kamari became my Tidecaller, I really didn't need her to be a Tidecaller. So, because she has, because she gets this 20% or 30% mana cost reduction, I picked up Hemomancer, and let me fucking tell you, this Simulacrum ability, I spammed the shit out of this. I didn't even have to increase the mastery scaling, I just reduced the mana cost, I made it go one farther so that she doesn't have to be in 1/1 range to use it. And my god, because there's so many boss enemies on Demonic, this shit, especially if you're near like a fucking, what's his name? A lore master. If you're near a lore master, this shit is really cheap. You copy a boss enemy, they go in, they die, but they lure like 4 enemies. And then dickhead Zuhair gets to fucking mortar them from 10 blocks away. So it's like, okay, sick. I really had a lot of fun using Cassandra in this game. She was really fun. I still think Aya's better though. Aya's a weird one though, man. Because it's like, by all stretch of the means, her growths scream at you to say, please make me a Warlock Necromancer. And in the beginning, I did use her as a Warlock, but I decided to switch her to a Scholar into Necromancer because of her passive abilities, right? People say that these abilities are broken, and they're kind of right. You know, Bleed, Poison, Blind, and Weak's effects are reversed, and then you have an ability that sucks in all the debuffs from everyone around you. And they say that like, oh yeah, no, this ability's broken, this combination is just like unfair. But if I'm being honest with you, it made me want to not use her in combat because I wanted to keep the buffs. But I was like, okay, if I have all these stats, it's like I should have a direct damage ability to capitalize on them, correct? So that's why I went to the fucking, what's it called? I went to the Necromancer tree towards the end, but I made her a Scholar first so that she has utility. Because these 2 abilities are some of the best abilities in the game, I'm not gonna lie to you. But looking back, I think her summon, I think this 80 mana animate sucks ass. This shit is like not that great. Compared to the fucking Simulacrum from Cassandra, this shit is a meme. I regret not making her a lore master, because this 15% less mana shit stacks the more lore masters you have, I think. Don't quote me. But even if it doesn't, it's like, this shit is so good, dude. This lore master shit is so good. It's so fun, because the focus of the game towards the end game shifts really heavily towards mana usage. And making your chip cost 15 less, I'm not gonna lie to you, on Alden, I never clicked these 2 abilities, ever. I just spammed Phase, and I spammed his signature, and I spammed this mana written, this mana ancient writing. This shit is just, you're just a battery. And I love that. I love that utility. You can power up your fucking, especially because she has the attuned ring, you can power her up, give her that little recharge that she needs so she can go in with Divine Flow. You know, do her thing. I really value that. That makes especially Talera, easier to use, but it's also flexible because you can bring her near Zuhair as well and get shit going that way. Very, 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 like, cool character for that reason. I did end up making her a Necromancer because she was like, I guess it's fun to use. I think every class in this tree, except for like Warlock, is high-key insane. I guess Necromancer's not that insane either. But if there's any one character in this whole game that wants to be a Warlock and Necromancer, it's her. And I think that matters, if that's the kind of playstyle you want to do. I guess Kalith goes here too for similar reasons. I didn't use her, honestly. I think they give her to you late in case like you made Alden into a fucking lore master. And there's a certain spoiler that comes along that I don't want to talk about right away. But you might be needing a slot on your team to fill. And you know, you can't go wrong by just slapping a lore master on here. I think for that alone, she's also great. I mean, obviously, Geomancer Cosmician will just benefit her as well. She doesn't have a super high mastery growth, but I don't think this character is meant to shit out damage. That's fine, honestly. I think she does her role really well, probably. Not that I would know, I didn't fucking use her. It's my only demonic playthrough. Now, I'm gonna put... I should probably put Gwyn mid, but part of me wants to put her here because I dumped everything into her. I dumped all my elixirs into Gwyn. These are my final stats at the game, and I gave her a bloodied ring as well. I think the biggest restriction of this game is that you have to use Gwyn on a team. So what does this mean? Well, let me pull up Notepad real quick. This means... Oh, wait, oops. Am I blind? Yeah. So... You get 10 units. Gwyn has to be one of them, right? So what does this mean? This means you're probably going to want a Tidecaller. Tidecaller, 1. You probably want a Lore Master, at least 1. So these are like the 3 limitations, right? Oh, also you probably want Eve. And you probably want Monk Ascendant, right? So these are like... These 5 units are pretty much mandatory on Demonic, and then from there you can kind of customize IMO, just going off of what I've seen. And the biggest restrictor here is Gwyn. You kind of need a team that synergizes with her. Because if you don't, she's going to be dead weight, and then she's extremely frustrating to use. And that wasn't my experience with her, because I'm not going to lie to you. Where is it? This, Spinning Blade and Hemorrhage, these 2 abilities are insanely good for her. It inherently is just guaranteed damage on every enemy that you fight. It makes your weak units strong. Let me see if I have... this PC videos. I clipped some shit. Is it here? No. Let me turn this off. Oh wait, no. I should probably show off the Eve shit in a bit. Okay, so check this out. Is it here? I think I made... Yeah, no. This is just how I used Hemorrhage the whole game. Apply Hemorrhage to an enemy, use a weak enemy to sort of chip them. Look, I do 0 damage with a 7% hit rate. I did 70 damage right there. And then I came in and I crit because my fucking class has that ability to do so. And then I healed off of it because I gave her these rings. Obviously, you give her the Bloodied Ring to sort of mitigate the fact that you have to use Gwyn. And then I gave her the Victorious Ring because this ability to like heal is so awesome. What clip is it? Is it this one? No, it's not this one. It's the one before this, right? Yeah. Check this out. So, because she has the Bloodied Ring, and this guy's hemorrhaged, right? This guy up here. Ignore Saxon for a sec. This guy being hemorrhaged, he kills me, right? But he dies to bleed, and then I and then I healed and I get my block up and then I live this hit. That is so cool. I think that her personal ability in combination with the Victorious Ring and Hemorrhage as a trio, and then on top of that you get the bleed. Oh, it's so cool, man. It's so fun. I'm not gonna lie to you, I did not click with Reaper's Mark. I upgraded this shit. I was like, oh yeah, I probably don't even need to hemorrhage anymore. No, it is just better to hemorrhage. And as soon as you turn her, I think she's the only character in the game that can go Devoted Reaper and make it work, especially on Demonic. And I'll get into this tree in a sec. I think this tree is mostly dog shit, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I think Gwyn makes the best use of Devoted Reaper out of every character in the game. Because you're forced to use her. Specifically because you're forced to use her. Because on Benji, for example, you're not forced to do this shit. You have options. You don't have to use Benji, so that means you don't have to engage with this class tree. And this class tree is fucking penis and balls. So it's like, if you're forced to have a character like this on your team, and it has to be Gwyn, who has like pretty dog shit growths, I'm gonna juice. I figured I'm gonna juice her, right? When you juice her, you get this hemorrhage stacks all the way the fuck up. You get these light block stacks all the way the fuck up. She struggles to die. I rarely got below half health if I played my turns correctly. And then this blink does so much for you, dude. That one map where you have to put out all the fires, I legit put out all the fires on the last turn, and I wouldn't have been able to do it if fucking Gwyn's blink didn't go 13 spaces. Super clutch ability. I love blink. It's just a self-teleport for no reason. People think that, oh, you know, pop block, pop fucking, what's it called? I go to Alden, I go to class trees. You know, you put Repulsor Shield on her and shit, and you just send her in, right? You just put the blink. No, that's not how you play this character. This is a support character. I know it looks intimidating, with like, you know, it's like, oh, I got a fucking big scythe and I teleport shit. It's like, no. This character bleeds you. This character makes your shit units deal more damage. Super, super, super cool ability. I loved Hemorrhage throughout this game. I think that, by extension, Viserion is also very good at that too. Probably better in Gwyn. But you kind of, I don't really want to use Viserion, if I'm being honest, because he's in this tree. I think he's pretty mid. Where even is he? I got him and I used him on the prison escape level because you have to. And then after that, I was like, oh fuck, I better make him useful in case he's forced deployed again. Because he sat back and did nothing. I might have killed a single enemy with Viserion. I don't even remember. Or I might have applied Hemorrhage to something, because I made him a devoted. I also think that Gwyn has options too, because this tree is so, like, not that great. It's like, you can go devoted Elicent. I think Champion is kind of shit. And I'll get into that in a sec. I'll get into that later. Onkrant is... This Mana Glaive toss seems like it would be a good ability. But I'm super turned off because it costs mana to do range damage as a, like, stage 2 with no other benefits, really. This heavy vulnerable shit for 80 mana is a joke. I don't want to spend 80 mana to do nothing. And then hit them the next turn and then do no damage, right? So that's why I fuck with Devoted so much, because this Hemorrhage ability is just so good. But I imagine Elisant is also pretty good too. Just for this ability to attack from 8 tiles away. She becomes like a mini Zuhair. And I guess every character in the warrior tree becomes that too. But the problem is that Zuhair's you can make cheap because he's near the lore masters a bunch. But I feel like with these warrior classes, it's kind of weird to use them that way. Like, I don't really know. I didn't really keep Gwyn away from combat a lot because it wouldn't utilize her like passive. It wouldn't use her passive very well. This killing enemies grants light block shit. Yeah. And I think Viserion would just perform that worse. But I don't know much about him, if I'm being honest. Defense and Fortitude increases as HP decreases. This just feels like a bad ability, you know what I mean? Like, why would you ever want to be low just so you can buff yourself? I don't know. I would rather just like, especially in this game, it's like if you're pulling aggro, you need to not die. And it's like if you're low and you start dying, and it's like, oh, that's when you become strong. I don't think that's great. This ability though, command, grants an ally 13 defense and fortitude for 1 turn. How do you upgrade this? Scaling, cool. Mana cost, cool. If I had to guess, you'd probably do this shit. And you probably do this shit, right? And then you make him, I don't fucking know, a Gallant, maybe? I think the Gallant champion tree is really shit. Peoples might say like, oh yeah, no, damage plus 5 for against enemies above 50% HP. That makes a lot of sense for her to be a Reaper. Because crits deal 100% additional damage against full health enemies, so you get an extra 15 damage per crit. But you don't need to crit with Gwyn if you like spam hemorrhage, which is what I did. And I think I made my hemorrhage cheaper too. Yeah, I made it cheaper and I made it scale with my mastery. There were times where I wish it had 1 extra range. But if I'm being honest, like that wasn't very many times. I did have this feeling though that I wish it had more range, but I don't know. Maybe because I made it cheap and scale with mastery, that's why I felt like I could spam it so much. And I did juice her. You have to keep that in mind, right? Like I did spam her elixirs on her, but that's only because you're forced to use her. And it's like if I'm forced to use this dog shit unit, maybe I should just put her in mid, dude. Like I don't know. I think she's the best mid character by a lot. She's the gatekeeper though. The value you get for hemorrhage spam plus the fact that it's like every other unit in this tree is pretty ass, like Benji. And I'll get into Benji in a sec, but I don't know. Oh, also Zindil. I forgot to mention Zindil. I think here. Either here or here. When you get Zuhair, she's definitely better. And until Zuhair becomes, but when Zuhair becomes a conduit, it's like kind of half and half. Because they kind of do similar things. Well, actually, that's not true. Zindil does more of a similar thing to Arthur than Zuhair does. She one-taps pretty much anyone. I stopped spamming the monkey towards the end of the game, though. Capuchin. I stopped spamming this shit towards the end of the game because it didn't kill anything. 124 additional damage does nothing. You kind of need the 152 at the end of the game. And I made it heal as well. This healing is super awesome because it means that if you drag one enemy, she usually lives that one enemy if she doesn't just get nuked. And then next turn, you can kill that enemy and then get your HP back. And it's pretty much totally separate from whatever the fuck is going on with the rest of your team. And that aggro pull like might actually matter. And I felt like it did matter a lot of the times. I don't really like know what else you would make her other than a Tamer Beastmaster because her personal ability just synergizes with it so well. Command pet damage plus 25% is awesome. This character is just designed to be a Beastmaster. Like it's literally just in the name. Command pet costs half mana. There wasn't a single turn that I spent as this character not spamming Lion or Capuchin. She never needs to hit raw damage. She can always spam abilities. always spam abilities with her. But yeah, she's up here for sure. Like, you don't have to use her, I guess, but I feel like you're missing out because of the money. I think the money is like actually actively necessary. I'm gonna say her is up next. I don't remember her name. I remember her passive being kind of interesting. Gain 15 dodge and 15 accuracy when enemies at a lower level. So, in theory, you're always going to be a higher level than them. So this is just a extra 15 dodge and 15 accuracy. But that doesn't matter because... what's it called? You units class tree. You're going to make her a monk. Or conduit. Because Virgilian's out of the question and so is Gale. These two classes suck ass. Just straight up. On demonic at least. I don't know what they're like on deity. But Conduit and Monk are just the best of the breadwinners of this class tree by a lot. And if you go Monk Ascendant, you can't take damage anyway. So it's like her extra dodge doesn't matter, and her extra hit rate doesn't matter a ton either. She is probably the worst at these two roles as well, but there's still these two roles, right? So it's like, you can't really take away the value from Conduit into Stormkeeper or Monk Ascendant. She's probably not a Godfrost user, I'll tell you that much. I think she's the worst. Is she the worst Adept? She might be the worst Adept. Yeah, no, she definitely is. But she's still an Adept, and that probably still makes her better than Viserion, especially because you get her earlier than him too. I think she goes here next, if I'm being honest. I don't know. I really like Valyria in the mid game and the early game. The fact that Gwyn, as a Devoted, has this crit plus 8 per status effect on target up to 32, and then her poison just adds... I'm pretty sure her poison adds 2 status effects, right? 5 heavy poison stacks, and then what's her passive again? Oh yeah, that power plus 15% shit. You need her to get through the early game. You need her to get through the early game. That's why they give her to you, but she falls off pretty quickly. She's a really great support unit, though. I wouldn't have it any other way, if I'm being honest. She's probably more like up here, if I'm being honest. Just because she has the potential to scale into the late game if you really want her to. She will always synergize with Gwyn extremely well. Just a solid unit. The fact that you get her early and the fact that she carries you through the early game because of her this power plus at 15% while at full HP shit, plus the fact that she's like a pseudo dodge tank in the early game. Yeah, this Shadow Step ability means that you run in, you apply Grimstroke to some shit. They're not hitting you because they're -5, and then your dodge is high as fuck for that stage in the game because their accuracy is also really low. So she's just great for that. She scales into the mid game. I imagine she struggles at the late game, if I'm being honest, because this tree is pretty bad. I'm not gonna hold you. This tree is just such a huge like bane. I think of this tree, the winners are Devoted Reaper and Nightblade into Ankron or Nightblade into this shit. And then every other class is kind of just like, especially like, I mean, Ankron can work, I guess, but it's like, why would you do that? Why would you make her fulfill that role when you get Eve? And Eve is just 10 times better than she will ever be in that role. You know what I mean? I think next up is Benji. I think the proper way to use Benji is use him in the first few chapters that you get him to spam, what's his ability again? Tax increase, I don't fucking care, honestly. I don't care about Honor Clad or Head of Steam on this character. Call to Arms. This banner is fantastic in the early game. I think up until like the bar fight level, this shit is like perfect, and then he immediately falls off after that. I planned on benching Benji. I love his character, which is so unfortunate. I actually love Benji so much. I used Benji in the first game. I think he's a fun ass unit in that game too. He's probably okay in this game. His self ability is actually not that crazy, because it means that you want to like spam attacks and you want to just like one tap everything. But the problem is that it has to ramp up, and then especially in the late game where everything is like 2-tapping you, that sucks because he can't enemy phase until he sets up a few times, but he's gonna die by the time he needs to set up, so it's like, fuck. I guess the best route is probably Seeker into this shit for that reason, because that means that he can actually just kill things from far away. Or maybe Devoted into Seeker maybe, and then make his Hemorrhage like farther. But I think his like quote-unquote tank role is just not good. And I didn't think he was like that in the first game either. I made him into a Berserker in the first game. But yeah, Gallant into Hero is just, especially Hero. Oh, I'm going to get into that. You'll see in a bit. And then next up is her. I think this is the most underwhelming unit in the game from a design standpoint. She does like very little influential shit in the game. It's obvious that you could just slap on Waveseer, but at this point, by the time you get her, you have Cassandra, you have Kamari. I'm pretty sure you also have Hauron. So you have 3 Waveseers, and it's like she's really dog shit at being an elementalist. Like, I think this class is just not that great. What even is her personal ability, dude? Oh, dude, the lobotomy. Oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. Hold on. Dude, this is a dog shit ability. Maybe they want you to be a juggernaut with her, but it's like, bro, look at this fortitude growth. Ew. Ew, dude. This fortitude growth is abysmal, and every unit in this game is just a fucking magic user. Especially in like past the mid game, dude. Everyone is using magic. Past the forest level that you use her in, there's like the level where you get Talera. I think every unit after that is like mostly magic, like around like 80% magic users. And the fact that you get her right before then, and her fortitude growth being so dog shit, I don't know what it's like. I didn't even level her up, dude. I'm not gonna lie. I used her for the one chapter, her and Tusk. I'm gonna get into Tusk in a second. I think it's pretty healthy to say this character's here. He might even be here. I'm gonna get into where I'm putting these two. But Tusk is just bad at every role you give him. I guess you make him into a tamer because his speed growth is already dog shit. Right? No matter what you do to this character, his speed growth is just always going to be ass. So you might as well make him a tamer into this shit. But my problem is you have, what's her name? Zindil. Like, you get Zindil. This is like God's gift to fucking Beastmaster, dude. And you just get Tusk in the same game. Like, what? Like, make it make sense. I think this character is bordering the frustratingly bad tier. Because he doesn't serve a great purpose, and this ignore weapon weight shit does not matter at all, because your speed is already so fucking low all the time that you're never doubling anything as this character, even if you level him up, I imagine. You're never doubling shit, so why the fuck do you want to ignore your weapon weight? That doesn't matter. That's a nothing burger ass fucking ability, dude. Command Crocodile, this is just a shitty, like, pet damage ability. I think he goes here though, because at least he's like salvageable. You know what I mean? At least he's salvageable. Which I'm gonna get into now. This is gonna be really spoilery. I kind of alluded to it earlier, as when I mentioned Kalith. I'm gonna give y'all 10 seconds to tap out at this point. I think both of these characters go here, but I'll explain why in a bit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay. Spoiler, spoiler, spoiler. Final warning. Okay. I dislike that Reardan dies. From a unit perspective. Not from a, like, narrative perspective. I think for the narrative, it makes sense, and it works, and it sets up the third game as well, really well. But he is so mid. Like, if we're evaluating the unit, he probably goes here, right? If I'm being honest, because what he does is, and he's not even bad at doing it per se, but it's just, he just falls off, right? He's just mid and he falls off, kind of like Valeria. But it's like, knowing that he dies and he gets taken away forever, why the fuck would you ever invest in this character? Think about it. You're on this hard-ass difficulty with limited resources. You have nothing going for you in the early game. It's like, I benched Reardan as soon as I got the opportunity to. I didn't even know he died. He was so mid, and I didn't need him, because I knew I was going to get more broken characters later on anyway. I think I benched him, like, frame 1. As soon as I could, I benched him for literally any other character. Obviously, he's not a terrible unit. I don't have access to him right here. You can make him into a cutthroat similar to Eve and fulfill like an early game Eve role, but you have Valeria as well. It's just like, do you want to make him into a Licky Lasso bot? And if the answer is yes, then it's like, okay, well, you sacrifice all your damage in the process. I think knives are a fantastic weapon class, by the way, and I just think that he is by far the worst user of them. If you really wanted to go down that path. Knives are awesome, and Reardan sucks. So it's like, he's like mid, I guess. And then in his place, you get fucking Irving. But guess what Irving is? He's a fucking, he's a Gwyn plus. It's like, why do I want Gwyn on my team a second time? Yeah, I guess he's better than Gwyn at doing that same job, but it's like, God, dude. And then his personal ability, oh yeah, by the way, Reardan's personal ability, he just summons, like, he's just got a shitty pet ability like Tusk. The bleed that applies is kind of nice, but it's like, you don't... Is it bleed, actually? Let me remember. Where are you? Class tree. Is it... You're a quick draw, right? No, the hyena's not even like... Oh, dude, this character's dog shit. His personal ability was just an animal, if I recall correctly. I love his character in the story, but god damn is he like such an annoying unit to think about conceptually, because it's like, why the fuck are you in the game as a playable character? And because it's like on demonic, if you die, if you lose a character, you have to reset the whole level anyway, right? So why the fuck are you here? You know what I mean? If you're meant to die as a play, like, why are you a playable unit? Especially if you're mid and you're not even good enough to carry people through the early and mid game. It's like you get benched immediately in almost every playthrough. It's like, why the fuck are you here, man? I guess it's like that on purpose so that you don't invest into him. But for some people I've seen online, they're like, yeah, no, I invested into Reardan, and he was doing pretty okay in my run. I kind of liked his role, and then he just fucking dies. And it's like, okay, sick, man. All that elixir you might have put into that shit, gone. All the fucking... the role that he fills, now you need someone else. And that's why he's frustrating, because it's like, if you use him, you're just strictly punished. No other character in the game punishes you like as outright as using Reardan does, for that reason. And then granted, he only dies in the last, like, what, 5 chapters? But god damn, bro. Is that shit frustrating. You only have to go through 5 chapters without Reardan, I guess, so it's not that bad, but that shit soured my taste for Reardan so much. I think he is the most annoying unit in the game. I love his character. I love his character. I fucking hate the unit, if that makes sense. And Irving is just your dedicated champion, and this ability, True Speed -4, is what kills this class, in my opinion. If you just gave it power plus 25%, because you know it's a tier 3 class, like, that'd be fine. Why are you doing that in the game where there are just strict bonuses to being a tier 3? Why is he the only one that punishes you? He's the best one in this role by far, because of his growths, and I guess that's nice, but it's like, why the fuck would you ever want to use him? I think I benched Irving every single time, because it was just frustrating. You get potentially a unit that you built up the whole game replaced by Irving, and then he's not very good. And then before that, you get like 3 other units that are Talera, who's amazing. You get fucking Kalith, which is like whatever. She's nice, I guess. You get Viserion, who could potentially replace it because he has the bow and he has extra range and shit from this ability right here. But it's like Irving, dude. By the time you get Viserion, you can start investing in him, right? Like, Irving has like 5 chapters to invest in, and he's dog shit. It's like, look at these growths. You have a 15% speed growth with 15 speed in the last 5 chapters of the game. It's like, what are you doing? Like, okay, let's try and alleviate that. I guess we could make you into an Encarant, but it's like, fuck, dude. Killing an enemy grants 6 defense and fortitude until next turn, so it's like, you're not killing shit because you're not doubling shit, right? Assuming that you get... So, my highest level is Zuhair at 46. I spammed this character, I'm not gonna lie to you, and he's still only 46, right? If I somehow was able to spam Irving... If I was somehow able to spam Irving in the... Oh, what is this? Does he have one of... Wait, what? Remove up to 14 defense from your enemy. Overpower and spinning blade. Is this a little bit of everything? Overpower and Spinning Blade. And then what does he get? What else does he get? He just gets the champion abilities. That's so mid. True speed -4 as like the dedicated like champion class. Why the fuck does it make you lose 4 speed, bro? 4 speed is a lot, man. 4 speed is a lot. I don't know, bro. I don't know. Like, you make this, sure, this character hits hard, whatever. Who gives a fuck? He doesn't kill anything anyway because it's on demonic. Or at least I'm on demonic. I don't know. I imagine like the adept or whatever the fuck it's called. Deity mode. In deity mode, he's probably like okay. But in demonic, I just can't justify it when you get units the whole game that do your taxes for you. And then this guy just comes along, this bum-ass character with 15 speed in the last 5 chapters. And he's not one-tapping shit because everything is like 150 HP. So it's like you can't even abuse his like ability. I just don't get it, man. Like I don't know, bro. This character is also frustrating. I think he's better than Irving, or wow, better than Reardan. I think Reardan is definitely better, but it's like the fact that Reardan gets replaced by Irving is frustrating. I mean, narratively, it makes sense. And Reardan's writing is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. I think the early game is really corny, and I didn't really like him. I found him kind of exhausting, but he really grew on me. And then he just fucking dies, and it's like, okay, sick. Narratively, it makes sense. It makes sense. It's just, God, dude, what an annoying character. I guess this is my tier list. Let me take one final pass over to see. Kalith, in all honesty, is probably either the same as Aya or better. I might be downplaying her. I think she's not the worst shaman, like fucking what's her name, but god damn. You get her you get her really early, so that means you get to do whatever you want with her, and I really like that about her. Because as your team becomes more and more developed, it's like you can kind of do stuff with her. Same thing with Kamari, because you get him. He's your second shaman, I think. Yeah, he is your second shaman. So he's super valuable for that reason. Gwyn could honestly be here if she wanted to be, depending on how you build her. But because it's like you only get one bloodied ring, if you decide to use that bloodied ring on a different unit than Gwyn, Gwyn is definitely mid. Like, especially if you don't juice her like I did with elixirs. She's super mid for sure. Valeria, yeah, no, this list looks like. I think this list is just where I'm at. It's weird. Normally my tier lists are like a bell curve. I like to imagine like there's like in a game with 20 characters, there's like 5 best characters and then 5 worst characters, and then there's the soup, right? But I don't feel that with this game. This game feels pretty like top heavy. Oh, also this is a big reason why a lot of the warrior classes are dog shit. Is because you're forced to use Gwyn already, and Gwyn is like probably the best one at doing this class's role next to like Viserion and I guess Valeria, but you're not gonna. I feel like calling Valeria a warrior just doesn't really like fit. You know what I mean? She's more like a support character. 1 Tidecaller, 1 Loremaster, 1 Gwyn, 1 Eve, and 1 Monk Ascendant character. So that's 5 characters, and then the other 5 are do whatever the fuck you want. I made my shit Zuhair. I made my shit a lore. I already had a lore master. I could have used a second lore master, but I decided to use a what's it called? Summoner, I think. Necromancer. That's the one. I made Cassandra a ritualist because honestly, she was my last like invested unit that I had. Or ritualist, sorry. What's it called? A hemomancer. She's the last invested unit that I had on my team that wasn't Saxon, and it's not that Saxon fell off, I just stopped using him. If I scaled with him, and if I didn't use Talera, Saxon would still just perform the same role. It's just Talera is slightly better at it than him. But yeah, no, like, this just feels like the list, you feel me? Like, I just look at this, and I'm just like, yeah, Maybe Zuhair is a weird one for people. I think that this character is insane. I spammed his fucking lightning strike ability. It killed so many enemies for me throughout my run. I think as soon as I made him into a Stormkeeper, I think he MVP'd actually every single map after he got this fucking, this ability right here. I don't know if that's this ability being broken. I think he's just the best Stormkeeper in the game by a lot though, because of his mastery growth being so high. Honestly, maybe to a point where I think that picking Godfrost is kind of a waste, but I know about the Godfrost build that you can do where he's just untouchable, so like, I don't know. I think he has options. He can be a Monk Ascendant. I think he is the worst Monk Ascendant that isn't like Marshall. You miss out a lot by going Monk Ascendant on this character. It's still Monk Ascendant, right? So it's still broken. That's my Discord. But Conduit Stormkeeper. Yeah, I don't know. Like this character single-handedly carried. Like he was one of my last units to promote into tier 3. I regret not promoting him earlier, if I'm being honest. Because he capitalizes super hard on this game being so like direct damage reliant on demonic. That's also why Arthur is like my highest one. That's why Gwyn is so high, because she's spamming fucking, what's it called? Hemorrhage. Talera is so high because she's like avoiding damage from everything with Divine Flow. Eva's so high for the same reason. Zanelle is just kind of like a shitty Arthur, but she's still an Arthur, so she's broken. You know, and then everyone else is just substantially lower because I kept them out of combat. I honestly regret not making a lore master. I'm repeating myself at this point. Fun game. I love this game. I had a lot of fun playing with these characters, for the most part. I want to do a run where I make Benji work, bro. I think Benji would be really fun to do. But that would involve having a run where Gwyn is on my team, and I'd hate that idea. Either that or I could play with random units, maybe. I don't know. Random units, I get Benji first. I'd be happy about that, probably. I probably hate a random run where I get this character in it, though. If he was the last character I got on a random run, I would probably be very happy. Because I don't want to deal with him. Same thing with Irving and fucking Reardan. I wonder how these two function in random runs. I don't know. But yeah, that's my video. Thank you for watching. How do I turn this shit?